Hi again, everybody. Is this on? Yes, there we go. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Yes, excellent. So without further ado, please help me welcome to the stage stars of The Good Place, Ted Danson and Kristen Bell. Hi guys, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. I'm going to open with an audience question because we're here at SAG-AFTRA Foundation. For both of you, how did you earn your SAG card?
I think I got AFTRA first because I was doing a soap opera in New York. Wow, I guess the Onion Field, the first thing I did out here.
I need to start with telling you I have a very bad memory, so you may fact check some of the things I say today and find out she was winging it. It didn't happen. And that is utterly sincere. I haven't been able to get rid of pregnancy brain, and it's very embarrassing, but it's the truth. So I figured I'd just lead with it and be honest. I think I got my SAG card through doing commercials when I was still in Michigan. I wasn't an actor as a child all that much, but there was a local agency in Detroit where they shot some commercials because there are like sand dunes right outside of Detroit, and there was a lot of like good production value for different commercials. And I did 2 or 3 commercials while I was in high school, and then banked all that to be able to go to NYU. And I got SAG through those commercials.
Fact check. Commercials, sorry.
I'm pretty
That's where I
sure,
got it. Commercials in New York.
Pretty sure.
No, me too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where I got it too. I thought it sounded better to say so.
Well, Ted, I'm going to start with you. I mean, when did you know, again, and if we all remember, when you wanted to be an actor?
I thought you meant if we all can remember how far back that was.
No.
I didn't. I wanted to be a basketball player, and then at Stanford, I went out to the freshman tryouts. No, wait, it gets better. And I literally did not get past the floor of the gym because I looked around and it was so clearly not going to happen. It was the same year that Lou Alcindor was a freshman at UCLA, and it was just like a different game. So anyway, I was very sad, very disappointed. And then sophomore year at Stanford, I followed some young lady. I thought maybe, and her name was Beth. Thank you, Beth. And finally asked her out for coffee. Halfway through coffee, she said, I have to go audition. And I wanted to stay with her, so I said, I'll come too. And to stay in the room, you had to audition as well. So I made something up, and I got the smallest part you could have in a Bertolt Brecht play. I was like the 4th spear carrier from the left. But it was just like, my life all of a sudden just went boom. I totally understood. Actually, what you want to do is make sure I don't get it down here, because my life all of a sudden made sense, and I slept outside of the theater. I just ate, devoured, loved acting, and I feel the same way now. I just love acting.
Let me be the first to say thank you, Beth, wherever you are, for that gift.
What about you, Kristen? Who was your Beth?
My Beth, I suppose, was my guidance counselor. I think his name was Mr. Franklin. Oh, fact check. I don't know. I never had any moment where I said, much like Ted, where I wanted to be an actor. I was just always perform me when I was a kid because it made me happy to make you laugh. And because of that feeling, I never really identified it as like a career path, but I was also too small to play sports, and the desire to join sort of a team. When I was in middle school, I joined local theater, and then did theater in high school and at my community center, and I just enjoyed doing that as after school work. So when I went in, when you're 16, you sit with your guidance counselor and they say, well, what would you like to do as a career? And I was like, and he said, well, start with what do you enjoy doing? And I said, well, I really like doing theater and musical theater. And he said, well, that's a career. And I was like, great, thanks so much. And that's really the end of it. It wasn't like a huge epiphany. It was like, it was logical for me because it was, they tell you, do what you love. What's the thing is like, do what you love Sure, something like that. But it was like, pick a career where you're going to love what you do. And follow your bliss, all these things. And that's kind of just what I did. It seemed very logical.
Well, you guys are making us laugh very much with this show. The Good Place is really fantastic. Ted, I want to ask you first. I mean, you were coming off a couple back-to-back dramas. When you've been living in sort of a dramatic world, do you yearn for the comedy?
I'm a bit of a... Is this for the film that they're taking at the same time, or can I just talk to people like this?
They're recording it.
They're sorry. I'm a Pollyanna. I love, acting, doing anything in front of cameras. So when I'm doing CSI, I think I'm doing King Lear, and I'm having the best time of my life. If I had to choose and I had to give up, chasing the giggle, I would be very sad. There is something very challenging about comedy because, this is funny, but that's not. Every moment trying to find that perfect kind of balance is such a wonderful challenge, and it's in the actor's hands with comedy, whereas in drama, you can show up drunk, divorced, depressed, and the camera goes, ooh, wow, that's interesting, and then the editing and the director and the music and everything makes the drama. You just have to be real.
You can take any scene and you can add mood music, and you can add, cutaways, or you can add like extreme close-ups, and it will seem dramatic, but it is definitely more in the actor's hands, which is nerve-wracking but challenging and awesome in that it better be funny while you're in the room, or it's not going to translate.
Right.
I didn't mean to hijack your answer.
No, that was good.
Kristen, I want to ask, this is a very atypical protagonist for a half hour to be built around. You don't often sort of build a show around
such a bad
asshole.
Person.
Yeah,
Bad.
Exactly. What excited you about that opportunity?
Well, I really, really, really gravitate towards characters where it is my responsibility to make them likable. I really gravitate towards characters on the page who are seemingly unlikable and not your typical protagonist, and then it is my job to get you to root for her. And I learned that playing Sarah Marshall as a fluke, basically, because I was cast. I didn't know what I was doing. I was my third season of Veronica Mars. On a Friday afternoon, I got the script for Sarah Marshall, and my manager was like, "This is a Judd Apatow movie. You have to go in. It's tomorrow morning." And I was terrified. And I'm like, I don't really know how to. I'm not a formal improvisational comedian. What do I do? And I finished shooting Veronica Mars, stayed up most of the night memorizing the script, and then in the audition was asked to do a really big improv scene with Jason Segel where they just gave you the scenario, like, you want to go horseback riding, you don't, go. And somehow I weaseled my way through it, but I realized during the shooting of Sarah Marshall how unlikable she was in the context of the movie, but how much I liked her and was rooting for her, and how much I sympathized with where she was because she was sort of like caught in all of this, I don't know, the business, and her self-worth was in the toilet. And I realized at the end of that movie that I had a sort of niche that I could discover, which was, I really enjoy and might even be decent at playing characters who are inherently unlikable and making you root for them. So Eleanor was very much in that vein for me, in that it's fun. It's really, really fun to take an entirely negative person, but go, I'm gonna get you by the end of this. I'm gonna get you, and you're gonna be on my team.
We're all basically typecast, and this is just an intellectual exercise to make it okay for herself. We both have the same baggage, which is fun for writers, because we are both likable, or we've done likable stuff. So you can then take, as a writer, that and twist it. And I think audiences will go further down the path to hell with you than they would with somebody who already looks like, they live in hell.
Well, I mean, for you, I mean, what has been sort of important? Because Eleanor is very much a 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of person. I mean, what has been important to you in sort of like layering her growth, but not having it be really, really fast?
Well, that, I mean, mostly comes from the writing, but the cool thing about Eleanor is I was able to start her, like, especially in all the flashbacks, I can go into such an amazing, like, whatever you imagine that internet troll is, like, she is that internet troll where, he says, do you have a moment for the environment? And she says, do you have a moment to eat my farts? Like, everything you want to say that you cannot say because we are a decent civilized population, she's allowed to do. But the great thing is the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, it really comes from the writers, and my job is to simply make those moments sincere, because as long as you're seeing a little bit of progress in Eleanor every single episode, as far as I'm concerned, you're still on her team. And so far we've been correct about that. You're still going to root for her because, the whole point of the show, like this whole big theory that you can always grow. Even when they tell you it's done, even when you can't earn any more points, you can still get better. And as long as you see Eleanor inching towards that get better line, you're still in the game with her, I think.
It's interesting, Ted, because you with Michael almost have sort of the inverse problem where you start the show being the best human being imaginable, this person who's created this paradise, and sort of are watching the cracks form, but those cracks in a weird way make him more human and more relatable. What have you enjoyed about that?
Such a tough question.
Well, it's inherently funny to see a perfect character be brought down by someone else. I mean, there's nothing funny about perfection, but when you do take someone who is seemingly so great and perfect and like this architect of the afterlife be brought down by someone who has a lot of baggage and is inherently negative, there's a lot of comedy in that, and there's a lot of comedy in seeing Ted unravel, I think, every episode.
I think I love hubris. I think hubris is a great, funny place to be, to think that you're on top of your game and the audience realizes that you are so not. I like middle management who's always trying to struggle and prove that he's better than what he really is. Because I think you'll find that, that Eleanor is way smarter than Michael, even though Michael has created all of this. So that's a funny place to play from, that you see him very calm and in control and very noblesse oblige, and then as soon as the shit hits the fan, he is, the last person you want to see on the the captain's deck of the Titanic, run! But anyway, Mike, it's all Mike Schur. It's all the writing. The play is the thing.
And that's not us being humble. It really genuinely is Mike Schur's brain.
Show up and try to live up to the writing is almost, your job every day is to reach up to that, which is so liberating for an actor, because if you're dealing with writing that is not that, then all of a sudden it becomes a committee that includes you in, I'll try to make it better by doing this, as opposed to trying to live up to great writing and thoughtful writing is such a joy, So hang on, the story just takes off from here if you're current or not. Mike Schur is just, really smart.
He is. And he's also, really smart about casting. I find that in all of his projects, he puts people together that make a lot of sense as on-screen partners. I mean, for the two of you, what was it like the first time you met?
We met in the lobby of the Captain's Cove? Captain Cook Hotel in Anchorage, Alaska. And we were doing a movie called Everybody Loves Wales. No, it was called Big Miracle. Big Miracle. And we met in the lobby, and my husband and I had just finished binging the first season of Damages. Well, as you all know, it was all about the Frobisher case. And we had at that point taken on Arthur Frobisher and Holly Frobisher as our aliases. So we were checking into hotels, we were getting mail to our house as Holly and Arthur Frobisher, because it was all about the Frobisher case, the Frobisher case. He was Arthur Frobisher. So I met him in the lobby of the hotel with a lot of energy, perhaps too much. And I said, Ted Danson, I'm Kristen Bell. I got to start with it. You're not going to believe this. I'm checked into this hotel as Holly Frobisher. I think he probably didn't know what to do with me, but thank God he didn't run for the hills because we became very good friends.
Plus, that wasn't my character's name, so I probably didn't even know what you were talking about.
I don't think you really realized. But I have you in my phone as Frobisher.
I love that.
But so I was already obsessed with Ted Danson, as is the rest of the world. And then we became good friends off that movie, and had, we'd always looked for something else to do together, but not really actively. Like we were sort of lazily, like wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? And then we'd double date sometimes, and then this weirdly just fell into our laps. And when I had my meeting with Mike, and he gave me this like hour and a half long pitch of what he thought the show was, what it was about, where it might go, what it was saying, I was like so in. And then he said, and I'd really like Ted Danson to play Michael the architect. And I was like, where do I sign?
Same experience. First off, Mike Schur has such an amazing reputation in the business that the network gave him, instead of a pilot, they gave him 13 episodes. And he has such a reputation that both Kristen and I listened to a pitch. We never read a script. We never saw words on a page. We just saw Mike. We listened to this bizarre idea and heard about each other, and it was like, yep, okay. And that's my philosophy as an actor in the last 7 or 8 years of my life. It's like, find the most creative person in the room and then ask very nicely if you can be part of it. Don't worry about the money, the size of the part, anything. Just attach yourself to really creative people then you have at least a chance of being in something authentic. Yeah.
Well, I want to take that further because, the episode we just saw has that great sort of interrogation scene and the thread that runs throughout with Michael interrogating Eleanor about who killed Jarett. What do you like about one another as scene partners?
Oh, I get to start. One of the smartest women I've ever met. Smart is a good thing, I think, especially in comedy. The least neurotic human being I've ever met. She will have her cell phone and she's, FaceTiming or whatever, Skyping with her daughters, and they'll yell action and she'll, be brilliant, and they'll say cut and she'll continue her Skype with her children. And then when they say wrap, it's like I look around and she's halfway home to be with her family. You have your priorities so on. That's just the human part of you. Then the acting part, you really are good. Usually I'm so self-obsessed. I don't even see you. I know you're down lower, and I should make sure I look down low. But that's pretty much. So when I watch it, I am just stunned by how good you are. You're such a wonderful actor to play all of those different things that Mike is asking you to play all at the same time. And I love her.
Ted and I often we're both fiercely codependent and
Little Miss knows everything about the microphone.
I didn't see that happen. Thank you very much.
It's a guy.
My peas won't pop now. My peas won't pop. What were we talking about?
Me.
Yeah. But what was the question?
Scene partners.
Scene partners. And then what was I going to answer with?
How you feel about Ted Danson.
Okay. Ted always, when you read Michael on the page, Ted always does 100 more adorable things within Michael than I ever thought was possible. And as a human being behind playing Eleanor, it forces me, not forces me, it allows me to be way more engaged because I'm genuinely excited about what he will do next. There's like never anything straightforward about your performance. And I mean that as a compliment because you're always doing so many engaging things. Like I feel like your experience as an actor has really taught you how many different things you can do, whether it's physically or adding size here and there, all that stuff. That texture is really, really important to give life to those lines. And I'm just constantly, I'm very present when I'm acting with you. We also break up a lot because like you and I keep our human beings right underneath the surface of our characters. Like I don't like need to be an Eleanor all day. Like if you come at me at craft service and we're drinking water, I'm not going to be like, this is bullshit. I'm just like Kristen on lunch and stuff. But I think that provides a lot of fun because our real people are right underneath the surface. Also, we're constantly talking about how codependent we are and who in the room likes us and who doesn't like us. How could we get them to like us? So we just...
Third row on the left.
Okay, I'll get there. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore.
We giggle. The one thing we do is we can't believe that they're paying us to come to work and be together. It's kind of like a giggle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that laughter and that engagement keeps you very present. Like I think that there's a problem in becoming too serious about what I do. Because then I get really in my head and I don't stay in my body and I don't stay present and I don't allow another actor to crack me up because I'm like, I know how I'm going to play Eleanor. I know how she's going to be. Like that's a downfall for me, to be too in my head and not to let like the lightning of the scene sort of take me away. And that's what's great about you is you're so sparky in the scene that it forces me to pay attention. Did that make any sense?
It was great.
But it does make sense. And I think perhaps some of that, both of you do have sort of improvisational experience on your resumes. I mean, is that sort of what you're talking about, that need to be flexible and constantly open?
Yeah, the need to be flexible. But let me clarify, like I live with a classically trained improvisational comedian. I am not that person.
God, he's good.
Oh my God, he's so good.
Dax Shepard.
Yeah, I mean, he's good, he's sexy, he's get in line, okay?
I'm in line.
When you have that formal training, which is what I've learned from working with a lot of trained improvisational comedians, it's not what you think you should say. It has to start with what moves the scene along. And I've become hesitant to improvise.
Oh, we can't on this show.
Well, yeah, we can't. But even in other gigs, because my first question has to be, does this move the scene along? Because if I just think it's funny if I start talking about what my gerbil did that morning during the scene, it's never going to be in the cut. So like for me...
If it is, you can immediately, as an audience, go, they
went off the rails. So there's
thing.
like a weird, like working with a lot of like with the Judd crew and with a lot of really good improvisational actors, I've learned that I don't have to be that, and I've stopped really pressuring myself. But what I mean by being flexible and improvising is beyond the words of the scene, of like little moments that Ted and I have learned how to ping pong and let live, whether it's like an eye roll or it's an eyebrow raise, that always ends up being in, because that I've realized is our job to infuse life into Mike Schur's words, because his words are so specific. I used to go into work and go like, I can't improvise. I'm just not really good at it. I don't know what should be in the script. I don't know what'll move it along. And now I realize, I can shed that. That's not my job. My job is to give life in between all the moments where the words don't exist. And I feel like we have a really good ping pong game going.
Film, TV, whatever. Film is this weird thing where you are either present in that moment right then, or you're not. And if you're not, you're not, and it's like you can show them how good your idea is. You can show them that take I did just before this, I'm going to duplicate that. And it's, you can do all of those things. You can be brilliant, but if you're not there in that moment, not knowing what quite's going to happen next, then you're not present. And no one is present all the time. I mean, this is something that every once in a while, if you're lucky, you land on. So you can fake it to some degree. But those performances where you're really, really moved is generally because there are more moments of somebody surprising themselves in front of the camera.
And I think it also harkens back to like having gone to theater school, like the Uta Hagen prepare, forget, forget. I think so much emphasis is put on the prepare and not nearly enough emphasis is put on the forget. And once you forget, the prepare is still there. You can actually just be alive in the scene. And for me, like I'm winging this whole thing, the last 15 years of my life, I'm winging it because I allow myself to walk into that room and forget and completely be engaged with whoever is in the room with me and not be in my head about anything I've written down or theorized about the character. I just sort of like let the scene start like a roller coaster and see where it goes. And there's a lot of freedom in being flexible like that.
And I'm finding the older I get, it's just easier and easier to forget. It's very easy.
Well,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
No, I'm curious for...
How long have we been talking?
I was lost and I just forgot and just got lost in the moment. But I'm curious because you're talking about the prepare and forget, and I'm curious for both of you. I mean, at this point, when you talk about the prepare, what are things you like to do when you're building a character, when you're really first starting to get into that character in order to find them in the material?
I'll go first because I have a bow tie. My character has a bow tie, and man, that was just... It inspired me hugely when I walked into wardrobe, not quite knowing what I was going to do. And you said, what about a bow tie? And people who wear bow ties are just, there's something about that you can't put your finger on, but you're looking at the bow tie and you're thinking whatever it is we can't put our finger on. So I love that. It's definitely middle management over your head, full of hubris, basically. Yeah. Sorry if anyone wearing a bow tie. But everyone works differently, and all that matters is that you are present in that moment, however you get there. When the words are really good, which ours are, and there's a lot of great writing, but I just find that I say the words over and over again till I've got them, and when in the process of saying the words over and over again, it starts to play on you like an instrument. It starts to inform you. If you are truly surrendering to the words, I find that the words take you like Shakespeare. It takes you where you're supposed to go. I mean, he would do it with, iambic pentameter, where literally the accent of where the emphasis went on a word and the rhythm would literally inform your character. And the older I get, I think, because we did all of the, it's an age thing. Sorry. Oh, no, it's not. This will be way better. Sorry. Pardon me. That, you do the method, you do the whatever your studying is, but ultimately it's the words, Use the words to play in your body and it'll take you places.
What about for you?
Well, for me, I've kind of derailed a little bit from my classical theater training at NYU, in which we did, we studied all the greats and under Stanislavski. And for me, I think I realized that my true self was a mimic, because when I was a kid, I used to do, that's why I like voiceover work so much. I used to imitate everyone's voice, and I would imitate people, and I would be a mimic, and it would be a fusion of 2 or 3 people I knew or 2 or 3 characters that I thought worked well together. But it was always coming from watching someone else and finding their authenticity and like mirroring that. And like I struggled for a long time thinking that was inauthentic from me, because I wasn't like, trying to feel the teacup and feeling the hot tea, and I felt like I wasn't doing it right. But lately in the last couple years, I've really sort of surrendered to like, oh, that's my process and that's okay. In that I know I grew up as a mimic. I always used to do voices. I can mimic really, really well. And then when I play a character, I look at people around me. I look at people that I see on the internet or in a TV show, or even if it's an actor playing someone else, and I isolate specific elements of personalities and I fuse them into something, and then I sort of swallow it, digest it, and regurgitate it as the character, if that makes any sense. But it's like Eleanor is a sort of kaleidoscope of internet trolls that I've seen, or like girlfriends I have that just have like no tact, of like amazing hipsters that, you know, just care about exactly what is in their inner circle and about nothing else. I don't mean to demonize hipsters. That was just like, I was thinking of like a young person who's sort of like blah about the world. Anyway, no, I didn't mean it as hipsters. I just mean like someone who's someone who is selfish, you know, and doesn't have a ton of wisdom. And then I combine all of those things, and not to say that hipsters don't have a ton of wisdom. That's not what I shouldn't have said the word hipster, but in my head I was picturing a certain hipster that I know that is very selfish, so this is not a blanket statement. I think hipsters are wonderful. Get out there, you know, you vote with your dollars, be active, it's great. I think they're all the characters I play are little elements of people I've seen, putting it through my mimic filter and creating one person that I can regurgitate on set.
Absolutely.
I love hipsters.
If there's anything you take away from today, it's that. Ted, I want to ask, you know, we got a lot of audience questions that sort of spoke to the same essence, which was the idea of career longevity. And I'm curious what you've learned over your incredible career about longevity and what it takes to sustain a career.
You know, I'm guessing by answering that. I truly love going to work. I love crews. I love actors. I think it's a noble profession. You are reflecting humanity or imitating it. You know, that's our job, and we don't always get to do that. Some of it's silly, but when it's all comes together, you're doing something that's very noble. You're reflecting humanity, you know, back. It's a mirror. So I truly love going to work. I love actors. I love the vulnerability. I love the check your ego at the door because it's going to be a bumpy ride. I love everything about actors, you know. I love really good writing. I did really want to become a basketball player. I truly did. And what I loved about it was the teamwork. So I love ensemble. I love when you go to work, you're surrounded by the best carpenters, the best lighters, the best painters, the best, you know, these amazing crafts that you're surrounded by, not just actors and directors, you know. So that community to me is like just heaven on earth. So I think that joy of acting helps. I think being lucky helps. I think being willing to be successful, which sounds weird, but you do have to give up a lot of crap to be successful. Stuff that you thought was important. I don't quite know how to. I think of it more as a mantra because I don't have the right answer, but you do need to be willing to give stuff up to be successful. Not good stuff, just ego stuff. And then you go look for great writing. That's it.
I don't know if what you just said answers this question, but this was another question, and it's for both of you. What do you know now that you wish you knew at the start of your career?
I'm not sure my mind works that way. I am... the other thing I would add, which is maybe answers both kind of questions, is gratitude. The discipline of gratitude. No matter what is going on in your life, to be grateful for what it is, so that you're not wishing for something where you're not, so you're not enjoying where you are.
Yeah, they say if you want to worry, get a future. And if you have this projected future for yourself, you will be worried about not getting there all the time, and you will miss exactly what's in front of you. And I think that I particularly in the early years of my career, was missing a lot of what was in front of me because I was like on the hamster wheel, and everyone was on the hamster wheel, and that's what we were supposed to do. And you were supposed to like wanting to get in a really cool indie movie, and then you'd get acclaim, and then you'd be able to like be supporting in a studio movie, and then you'd be able to headline a studio movie, and there were all these checks on your to-do list. And when you just actually burn that to-do list and are happy where you are, I felt like I came more alive as an actor because, you know, the way that Mike Schur is great with casting, he's also great. He has been collecting people in his 20-year career, that is the art department and the prop department and the camera department and the production team, all the people that make the world very alive, and to be honest, sometimes do a lot more work than we do to tell the story. We are a very, 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 very small part of telling this story. And I think what I wish I knew is how small my part was. Like, I remember I did The Crucible with Liam Neeson and Laura Linney early on in my career on Broadway. And Laura told me, always know the lighting guy's name, because if they're not on your team, you will look terrible. Always know the camera guy's name, because otherwise you won't be on your mark, you'll be fuzzy, and it helps everyone to get along. And I think it's great to remind yourself not to suffer from this is my moment and I am here to do this. We are here, and it's not something silly when people accept an accolade and they thank the entire crew. I mean, I think that we breeze by that as like a courtesy, but it's not. It should be genuine, because you are not the only Try going to work and shooting that show by yourself. Just show up and see if you can do it. You know what I mean? Because you can't. And so you have to recognize from a human level the other human beings who are in the room. The person who took the time to make sure that the prop that you're using is something that you like and give you 4 options. And they thought about it for 2 weeks. Like that's important. And that, like I say, like Ted keeps me so present because he makes me giggle. Those people keep you present because you don't lose your humanity when you're working, and you don't think like, I need to gather myself, I need to do this, I need to. You're more present as a person because you realize it's a team effort, and you end up feeling lighter all day. I do, at least. And it's just important and then when you're more human, that human shines through in your acting, I think.
By the way, I'll speak for myself. This isn't something that we nail every day. You know, we all fall into the same traps over and over again, but what we're talking about, I think, is kind of how we want to lead our life. One more philosophical thing. I think that something happened to me, so I kind of was forced into this, but I think you need to start living your life, all of us do, start living your life as if you were already successful, because a lot of people go, when I'm successful, I'm going to give back. When I'm successful, I'm going to take care of this. When I make it, I'll have the time to be able to do this. Wrong. Do that, all of that now. First off, I think that's how the universe works. If you start behaving as if you were something, you are more likely to become that something. But, you know, it's about being fully human and not holding your breath, waiting for your dreams to come true.
Absolutely. Well, I cannot think of a better place to say Kristen Bell, Ted Danson, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to all of you for coming out and SAG-AFTRA, and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.